I am here today to talk about research so that tomorrow I do not die. Research is the key to finding the cure that will change the lives of every person afflicted with not only lupus, but all autoimmune diseases. Before I go further into that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. As they said earlier, my name is Molly McCabe, and I have lupus. In 2004, 11 years ago, I was enjoying my blossoming career as an opera singer. I had just landed my first Class A company role with the Portland Opera and was thrilled to be getting the opportunity to sing in my hometown. And then, one day, I woke up with a 104-degree fever, passed out on the floor. After a trip to my doctor, I was told that I had 7 different infections at one time. It was definitely a first for me. I took the antibiotics, rested for a week, and then they all came back again. This was just the beginning of a year of illness after illness. I had taken more antibiotics than any person should ever need and been poked and prodded by 3 different primary care physicians who couldn't find out what was wrong with me. And one implied I needed to see a psychologist because I could be manifesting these symptoms in my head. That struck me as him being the crazy person, not me. A good friend recommended that I try this diagnostician named Katya Van Hurley in California, who had great results with diagnosing difficult diseases. It had been over a year now of being sick constantly, and I was willing to try just about anything at this point. So my mom and I flew to LA and drove down to San Diego to visit her. She was a very compassionate woman and much different than any of the doctors in Portland, mostly because she believed I was sick. It was a relief not having to try and convince her during that visit that I was truly not feeling well. Over the next year, I made numerous trips down to LA, and Dr. Van Hurley made appointments for me to meet with the head of every department at UCLA Medical. I most likely had the best workup of any patient they've ever seen. But it wasn't until the 13th doctor and my 3rd immunologist that he recommended I go see a rheumatologist. By 2005, my 14th doctor, Dr. Renee Rinaldi, was a partner of Dr. Daniel Wallace, and she told me in the first appointment that she had to run a few tests, but she already knew that I had fibromyalgia. A month later, I returned to LA. Dr. Rinaldi had had a very long day because I was the last patient of the day and she was already over an hour late. She came into the exam room and said hello, and that the test results were that I had lupus. Here's a script for Plaquenil, and I'll see you next month. And she walked out of the room and I thought, what on earth is lupus? She's a great doctor. She just was lacking a little bit of compassion that day. I met my sister for coffee after the appointment, and we used her laptop to look up lupus. Every website we went to said it was chronic, as in it was never, ever going away. I know this must sound crazy, but over the 2 years and 14 doctors that we fought my way through to get this diagnosis, it never really occurred to me that there wouldn't be this magic pill that would make it all go better, and I would get my life back. The more I read about lupus over the next month, the more scared I got. There were websites telling me it was fatal, that I could get kidney failure, I'd be on dialysis for the rest of my life. All these overwhelming what-ifs started popping into my head, so I called Dr. Van Hurley again, my diagnostic friend, and she asked me to come and visit her. In the fall of 2005, my symptoms were getting a lot worse. And although throughout this whole journey, I was fighting not only for my personal life, but for my professional life as well. I still had that role that was coming up in 2 months that I desperately wanted. Dr. Van Hurley sat me down, and we talked a little bit about lupus and my bout with pleurisy that I'd had the month prior. I was still having the rib pain from that illness, or so I thought. It turns out that the rib pain, or pleuritis, was just my constant symptom from the lupus. Your ribs have a lining around them that's like pink in color, and mine were dark red, and breathing deeply was really painful, which made singing a little complicated. We had a long chat into the night where she had a come to Jesus talk, as we say in my family. She informed me that there was no way I was going to be well enough to perform the role, let alone practice to get ready for it. This was it. My worst fears had come true, and I'd lost the chance to perform my dream role. I was in such denial because I'd worked for 10 years to get to this point in my career, and all of my dreams seemed to be disappearing before my eyes. My future was taken from me by my traitorous body, and I had no idea what to do next. I spent a lot of time crying and getting angry about things. My life was never going to be the same again, and my body was taking my future from me. I got pleurisy again, and you have to remember that at that time, the only pill I was on was Plaquenil, which takes 6 months to get in your bloodstream, so that wasn't helping all that much. I spent every night of those 6 months crying myself to sleep, really. I'd lost my dreams, my independence, a lot of my friends, and my livelihood. My mother is one of the most amazing women you'll ever know. She fought for me throughout this whole process like a mama bear. She was going to protect me and get me better no matter what. She researched the web every day while I laid upstairs in her room watching terrible daytime TV. We tried every diet, shake, tea that she could find before we finally had to come to terms that there wasn't much more else we could do. But leave it to my mom to never give up. In the past, we had this amazing group of family and friends who had worked with us on putting events together for various charities. My mom asked them to all come to dinner one night. They were all very sweet and came and visited me in my bedroom and make sure while they were I was resting while they were upstairs in another room having a meeting, having dinner, basically. Mom talked a lot about what we'd been going through and how she couldn't sit by and not do anything to help me anymore. It was at that moment in 2007 that our board of directors was created, and we had our own nonprofit called Molly's Fun Fighting Lupus. Molly's Fun Fighting Lupus is a nonprofit dedicated to educating the public and inform the medical community about lupus, to advocate for earlier life-saving diagnoses, to support people with lupus, and to collaborate with government and foundations to fund research toward a cure. When I lost my opera career to lupus, I really did think my life was over. But with the birth of Molly's Fun Fighting Lupus, I found hope again. And I've tried my best to be there for the patients who have gone through something similar to my story. We are all here today because we want to make a difference in the world of lupus. How many fellow Lupies are out here today? Raise a hand. Okay, that's great. That's quite a few, and we're only the tiniest tip of that iceberg. The reason that I started investing in research and that Molly's Fund raises money for lupus is simple. It's our only hope for a cure. I am very excited about the new partnership between the Alliance for Lupus Research and the Lupus Research Institute because they are both stellar organizations who have strong backgrounds in changing the face of lupus with their research. They could have study after study going if only for one thing. We need the funding. When you are out talking to your legislators today, please, please, please let them know how desperately the funding is needed and that by supporting the 21st Century Cares Act, they can save so many lives. Remember, my life is in your hands today, and I do not want to die tomorrow. When you go to your meetings, please lobby and advocate strongly for a larger NIH budget, the 21st Century Cares Act, and a cure for lupus. Thank you for your time, attention, and passion for this cause.